Hello everyone, my name is Adam Hudson, and I am an independent sound designer and composer. In this demo, I want to show you how I created a monstrous cry for my original short cartoon series, Fatty Piggums. Here's a clip that contains the sound, and I've bleeped out the bad language.
Try to put me in a f***ing pot, man. Who the f*** does that?
Okay, so as you saw, the main character, Fatty Piggums, has transformed into this scary, hungry T-Rex kind of guy. So in order to get a really full and loud sound, I decided to cover a really broad frequency range. And I did this by layering several different sounds together, combined with several mixing techniques. Logic Pro is my personal DAW of choice, although I've also worked extensively with Pro Tools and a number of other workstations. I find that I like the way Logic's features are presented. Okay, so now about the sound. When I imagined the sound in my head, I knew I wanted there to be some kind of word-based structure to it, and I decided to use the word craw because it has a really nice sharp attack and a nice long vowel sound at the end, which I could later stretch out if I needed to lengthen the sound. I recorded myself yelling the word in my home studio, and I probably weirded out a bunch of my neighbors in the process. My next step was to compress the audio. The sound has a very hard attack, which is why I chose it, but I wanted to maintain a high dynamic level as much as possible throughout the sound. Next, I felt that my voice was a little too high-pitched for this particular scenario, so I used a pitch shifter to bring it down a few semitones. You may have noticed that there was a bit of clipping as a result of using the pitch shifter. Later on, I'll add another effect that fortunately gets rid of it. Then, to get a more monstrous, warbly effect, I used a phaser with a somewhat low ceiling and floor, and a relatively low LFO rate. Then, as a final, more artistic touch, I decided to add a very rough tremolo, which gives it that concussive choppiness, which is one of my favorite effects. And as a bonus, it also got rid of that clipping issue we had before as a result of using the pitch shifter. Next, I wanted to really widen the craw sound to make it more intense and in-your-face sounding. So to do this, I recorded myself making the sound again on a second track, as close as possible to the original as I could. I used all of the same plugin settings as I did on the original, and then I panned the two tracks fairly wide, left and right. And then I wanted to add more space to the sound, so I bust the two tracks out to a tape delay. At this point I was ready to start widening the frequency range by adding a few different textures. I started with the low end by adding a layer consisting of a monster growl from one of my sound effect libraries. Then, using Logic's Flex editor, I used the tempophone algorithm and stretched out the growl to give it that huge, metallic feeling. Next, I wanted to add width to the high end. So to do this, I chose a female scream from one of my libraries. Again, I used the tempophone algorithm and stretched out the sound, both because I wanted it to last for most of the duration, and I just liked the way it sounded when it was stretched. Then I added the same tremolo effect to the scream that I did to my vocal tracks from earlier. Finally, I brought all of my layers together, mixed the levels to my personal taste, and ended up with what I like to call my cry of the Fattysaurus Rex. thank you for watching. Again, my name is Adam Hudson, and I hope you found this interesting. My website is www.ahudsonsound.com, and my SoundCloud username is am-hudson. Thanks again.